Case open, France, 1794. A one-eyed man walks into a freezing workshop with a government order crushed in his hand. His name is Nicolas-Jacques Conté. He lost that eye in a gas balloon accident. But today's problem has nothing to do with flying. The order says this: the country is at war. The officers need maps. The engineers need to draw. And all of France has just run out of pencils. Conte has to invent one from scratch, alone, and fast. And the result of that wartime emergency is sitting on your desk right now. That little yellow stick you use and toss without a second thought? It was born from a problem almost nobody on Earth could solve. And honestly, that's the easy part of the story. Because stop and look at the contradiction for a second. A pencil is the dumbest object in the universe. It's a wooden stick with a black line down the middle. A 5-year-old uses one with 0 instructions. So, how does that become a matter of state, a national emergency? A direct order from the revolutionary government to the best inventor in the country. Do the thought experiment with me. If someone forced you right now to make a pencil with your own 2 hands, start to finish, could you do it? Hold on to that question because it's the whole case, and the answer is going to surprise you. And there's something else strange about that black line. For centuries, everyone called it lead. To this day, in English, we say lead pencil, except there isn't, and there never was, a single gram of lead inside it. Hold on to this one too. Why did humanity spend 300 years convinced it was writing with a little piece of poison? To understand, we have to travel to one single place on the planet. A hill called Borrowdale in the north of England, somewhere around the year 1500. The story goes that a storm knocked down some big trees, and under the ripped-out roots, a few shepherds found a strange black thing, soft, shiny, that blackened their hands and marked everything it touched. And what was the first brilliant use humanity found for this mysterious material? Marking sheep. That's it. The glorious beginning of the pencil was a shepherd scribbling a number onto a sheep's wool. The material was pure graphite, and here comes the detail that changes the entire game. That Borrowdale mine was, as far as science knows, the only deposit of solid, pure graphite of that size ever found in the history of the world. One place. The entire planet had a single source of good graphite, and it fit inside one English hill. Since nobody really knew what it was, and since it was soft and gray like lead, they named it plumbago, black lead. The wrong name stuck and never left. And graphite became so valuable, it turned into a matter of national security. The British Crown put soldiers guarding the mine. They only opened Borrowdale a few weeks a year, took exactly what they needed, and then flooded the whole mine on purpose, filled it with water so nobody could sneak in. Smuggling graphite became a crime punishable by prison, with a law written just for it by Parliament. And of course, where there's something valuable and guarded, someone shows up willing to steal it. Mine workers walked out with chunks of graphite hidden in their clothes, in their boots, to sell on the black market in London, where a handful of it was worth more than weeks of wages. There was an entire graphite mafia with fences, middlemen, and knife fights over a material now forgotten at the bottom of your pencil case. Think about how insane that is. A material you buy today for pennies was guarded like a bank vault, with armed guards, a water trap door, and a special law. And the entire world of artists, writers, map makers, and engineers depended on that one hole in the ground. A whole planet, hostage to a single hill. So you can probably feel the problem coming from a mile away. What happens when England, owner of the only good graphite hole in the world, becomes France's wartime enemy. That's exactly where our Conte walks back into the scene, and it's worth knowing who this guy was. Conte wasn't just some pencil inventor. He was a painter, a chemist, an engineer, a balloonist, all at the same time. One of those geniuses the French Revolution threw at impossible problems. Years later, Napoleon would take him along on the Egypt campaign, and they said Conte had every science in his head and every art in his hands. But right now, the universal genius had one humiliating, urgent task. France is blockaded, with no access to English graphite, and the little graphite left in Europe was bad, brittle, full of dirt and grit. And naturally, everyone tried the obvious fix first. Take the bad graphite, grind it into a fine powder, and glue it back into a little bar using gum, glue, wax, resin, whatever's around. And it didn't work, not even close. It snapped inside the wood, smeared all over the paper, crumbled in your hand like old chalk. The obvious attempt failed for absolutely everyone who tried it. Nobody could turn graphite powder back into a solid bar. Conte looked at that pile of failures and had an idea that, at the time, sounded like pure stupidity. Instead of fighting to make the graphite purer, he went the opposite way. He took the graphite powder and mixed it with clay, with mud, with dirt, basically. And then he took that dirty mixture and fired it inside a kiln, the exact same way you'd bake a ceramic bowl. Stop on how counterintuitive that is. You've got a precious, ultra-rare material, and your big idea is to mix dirt into it and throw it in the fire. It should be the height of waste. But it was genius, and for a reason you still use today without noticing. Conte discovered that the amount of clay is what controls the entire pencil. The more clay he added to the mix, the harder and lighter the line on the paper. The less clay, the softer and darker. In other words, he didn't just invent the modern pencil in that kiln in 1795. He invented the whole scale. That 2B, that HB, that 4H printed on the side of the pencil in your house. That's Conte's recipe telling you to this day how much clay is mixed inside. H for hard, B for black. 230 years later, you buy your pencil by the formula of a one-eyed Frenchman trying to win a war. One man, alone in a workshop, solved the problem once and for all. Hey, let me pause the investigation for half a second. If you've made it this far and you're not subscribed yet, stop everything right now. Hit subscribe and tap the bell to turn on notifications, because that's exactly how you don't miss the next case I crack open. Done? Then let's go, because the best part is still coming. So the pencil was invented. End of story, right? Wrong. Because there's a detail nobody tells you. Not even Conte, the genius who cracked the whole thing, knew how to make a pencil. And this is where the case flips upside down. Grab the nearest pencil to you right now. Hold it in your hand. It looks like one thing, whole, obvious, simple. But let's take that simplicity apart piece by piece. The wood isn't just any wood. Almost every pencil in the world is made from one specific type of cedar, a tree that only grows well in a narrow strip of the west coast of the United States. Someone had to find, grow, and cut down that exact tree. The graphite in the core might have come from Sri Lanka or China, the entire other side of the planet. The clay Conte discovered from yet another different place. And the yellow paint on the outside, why are so many pencils yellow anyway? Because at the end of the 19th century, the best pencils in the world used luxury Chinese graphite, and yellow was the color tied to royalty, to the emperor in China. So one factory painted its pencils bright yellow just to shout, Mine has the imported graphite, mine's the fancy one, and the whole world copied it out of imitation. You hold a yellow pencil today because of a marketing move from over 100 years ago that you never knew existed, and it keeps going. That little eraser on the end, it's rubber sap from tropical trees on the other side of the map, cooked with sulfur so it hardens and doesn't melt in the heat, and a curiosity inside the curiosity. Before erasers, people erased pencil with breadcrumbs. I'm serious. You'd wad up a piece of moist bread into a little ball and rub it on the paper. It was only in 1858 that an American named Hyman Lipman patented the idea of sticking the eraser onto the end of the pencil. He thought he'd gotten rich. And then the court struck down his patent, ruling that combining two things that already exist, a pencil and an eraser, doesn't count as an invention. He lost everything. Even the little metal ring that holds the eraser onto the wood has a story. It's brass, which is copper mixed with zinc, each metal dug out of a different mine, melted down by people who never saw a cedar tree in their lives. Now count with me, because this is where the case closes. The lumberjack who cuts the cedar doesn't know how to refine graphite. The graphite miner doesn't know how to make rubber. The rubber chemist doesn't know how to smelt brass. The worker who smelts the brass never set foot on a rubber plantation. The painter of the yellow paint never got near the mine. Nobody, not a single living person on the entire planet Earth, knows how to make a complete pencil alone. Knows how to do every step, from the tree to the finished product, with their own hands, start to finish. Nobody can. The simplest object on your desk is, in practice, impossible for one person to build. In 1958, a guy named Leonard Read wrote exactly this in a short piece, told in the voice of the pencil itself, and the line became legendary. Not a single person on the face of the earth knows how to make me. Years later, a famous economist picked up one of these pencils in the middle of a TV show, held it up to the camera, and said the same thing. Thousands of people cooperated to make this, and not one of them knows the others. And now, finally, we can close that question we left hanging way back. Why did they think it was lead? And why do we still call it that? Because for centuries nobody had the faintest idea what graphite was, and the fear was real and concrete. People genuinely believed they were holding and writing with a piece of poisonous metal. It was only in 1789 that a scientist finally gave it the right name, graphite, which comes from the Greek word for to write. The most obvious thing on the desk, and humanity took 300 years to figure out what it had been holding the whole time. The pencil in your hand wasn't invented by one person. It was started by a one-eyed man in the middle of a war, guarded under lock and key in a single hole in England. And it's finished, every single day, by thousands of people who never met, who might not even speak the same language, who might not even like each other. And there's no boss, nobody in charge of any of it. Nobody organized it, nobody presses a button and the pencil appears. It just happens by the millions in the middle of a world that can barely agree on anything else. So, recapping the case. A brilliant inventor in the middle of a war discovered the recipe and the scale that are printed on your pencil to this day. A single hole in the English ground guarded the secret of the material for 300 years, armed guards and all. And the whole pencil, this one right here in your hand, never fit inside one person's head. It needed the entire world without ever coordinating, just to exist. Next time you pick up a pencil to scribble something dumb in the corner of a page, remember what it really is. You're holding proof that humanity builds things too big to fit in a single head. No boss, no master plan, nobody in control, just millions of hands that never saw each other. Not bad for a little yellow stick. So do me one thing before you go. If this case surprised you, drop a like. That's what pushes the investigation out to more curious people. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And do one quick thing in the comments. Just answer yes or no. Did you already know this story about the pencil? Comment below. I read every single one. And don't leave just yet. The next case is already open. There's a video popping up on your screen right now. Click it and come with me. We've got another one to solve. See you there. Case closed.